Welcome to Equal Ground Headlines. I am Samuel B. Williams, bringing you balanced coverage on our top stories of the day. If you appreciate journalism that explains, not inflames, hit like and subscribe to Equal Ground Headlines. Good evening. It is May 13th, 2025, and three fast-moving stories are dominating discussion across the United States. President Donald Trump has lifted every remaining U.S. sanction on Syria while visiting the Gulf. House Republicans have advanced a plan that would trim roughly $880 billion from Medicaid over the next decade. And in Georgia, the GOP is still hunting for a strong nominee to take on Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff after several headline names took a pass. Let's walk through each development, one careful step at a time. Standing on a sun-drenched stage in Riyadh, the president announced what he called a clean slate for Damascus. He framed the move as a humanitarian reboot, arguing that punishing economic restrictions were hurting ordinary Syrians more than the country's new leadership. He also praised Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for, in his words, brokering the momentum. Minutes later, Washington and Riyadh unveiled a $142 billion defense package featuring U.S. avionics, missile systems, and AI-enabled drones. Syrian state television hailed the moment as a new dawn, while UN officials cautiously welcomed the prospect of more aid deliveries. Critics, however, say that timing is no coincidence. Human rights groups note that the arms deal and the sanctions decision landed in the same press conference, suggesting leverage, not charity, drove the reversal. On Capitol Hill, Democrats warned that lifting sanctions without securing concrete human rights guarantees hands serious leadership an unearned victory. Several Republican hawks agreed, voicing fears that Tehran will exploit any economic opening. The White House countered that regional security hinges on giving Syria skin in the game for reconstruction and counter-terror cooperation. Diplomats also highlighted a planned meeting between Mr. Trump and Syria's new president, Ahmed al-Shara. It would mark the first face-to-face encounter between leaders of the two nations in a quarter century. State Department officials insist the session will press Damascus on prisoner releases and chemical weapons tracking. Yet skeptics recall earlier U.S. deals, as with Libya in 2003, where weapons dismantlement stalled once sanctions vanished. For now, markets have reacted to the larger Gulf visit, focusing on tech, energy, and AI commitments worth an estimated $1 trillion over the coming decade. Back in Washington, health policy watchers spent the day glued to a marathon markup in the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Republican leaders unveiled legislative text that would carve $880 billion from Medicaid, chiefly by adding work requirements, boosting eligibility checks, and lowering certain reimbursements to states that cover undocumented migrants. The Congressional Budget Office projects about 10 million additional people would lose coverage within 10 years if the plan becomes law. GOP sponsors defend the measure as a needed trim to waste and fraud, insisting no one who is truly vulnerable will be dropped. They also point to paired proposals that extend Trump-era tax cuts and promise a higher standard deduction for working families. Democrats responded with a flurry of amendments and a protest outside the hearing room that briefly halted proceedings. Capitol Police arrested 25 disability rights activists who tried to block the entrance, chanting no cuts to Medicaid. Democratic governors say the plan would hobble state budgets already stretched by long-term care costs. Moderate Senate Republicans, including Missouri's Josh Hawley, warned in an op-ed that slashing health insurance for low-income Americans could be morally wrong and politically suicidal. Speaker Mike Johnson, by contrast, argued that no one gets 100% of what they want, predicting unity once members see the map. Behind the scenes, conservatives are also negotiating over a separate demand to cap federal Medicaid spending per person, a move states like New York oppose fiercely. Rural hospitals worry that lower reimbursement rates could trigger closures, exacerbating care deserts that deepened during the pandemic. Business groups aligned with the Chamber of Commerce favor gradual savings, but fear sudden eligibility checks might thin the labor pool. At the same time, a coalition of deficit hawks is cheering the projected savings, noting the program now costs the federal government more than $400 billion annually. The bill faces a narrow margin in the House and an even tougher climb in the Senate, where any 3 GOP defections could kill it. Turning south to Georgia, the political rumor mill has been spinning since Governor Brian Kemp and Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene both declined to challenge Senator Jon Ossoff in 2026. Their exits cleared space for coastal Congressman Buddy Carter, who jumped in last Thursday, and for State Insurance Commissioner John King, who followed on Monday. Party strategists say neither name yet polls above 50% recognition statewide, but both can raise funds quickly. Conservative activists are urging former football star Herschel Walker to reconsider, though aides say he remains uninterested after his 2022 loss. National Republicans, meanwhile, are eyeing Atlanta business executive Kelly Loeffler for a possible comeback bid. Democrats view the scramble as proof that Ossoff's seat is tougher to flip than pundits assumed. The senator maintains strong favorability numbers among suburban voters and recently co-sponsored a bipartisan bill to expand job training grants, burnishing his centrist image. Yet Republicans note that Georgia's electorate is volatile. Turnout swings of even 3% have shifted statewide races in the past decade. Fundraising snapshots show Ossoff with $11 million cash on hand, but outside super PACs could dwarf that quickly if the national map tightens. Election analysts predict the contest will rank among the 5 most expensive of the cycle. For now, attention turns to candidate forums set for June across Augusta, Savannah, and Atlanta's exurbs. Those debates may reveal whether Carter can broaden appeal beyond the coastal 1st District, and whether King can connect with rural voters while retaining Atlanta's immigrant communities. Trump allies in the state legislature are also pressing Republicans to adopt a runoff-free plurality system, arguing it would help the party consolidate early support. Democrats counter that such a change mid-cycle smacks of gerrymandering by another name. Legal challenges could follow, adding procedural uncertainty to an already crowded field. Bringing the day together, each story underscores different facets of U.S. governance in 2025. Abroad, a president known for sharp transactional diplomacy is betting that economic carrots will stabilize a war-scarred nation, while critics warn of unintended consequences. At home, lawmakers are gambling that major entitlement reform can pass amid a razor-thin majority, though millions stand to be affected. And in a swing state emblematic of shifting demographics, both parties are preparing to pour unprecedented sums into a single Senate race that could decide control of the chamber. Whether the Syrian gamble yields peace or emboldens rivals, whether Medicaid cuts survive bipartisan scrutiny, and whether Georgia Republicans can coalesce around a nominee, all remain open questions. What is clear is that decisions made this week will echo well beyond today's headlines, shaping foreign aid corridors, hospital balance sheets, and the Senate map for years. We'll keep tracking each thread as events unfold, and we'll return tomorrow with the facts, the context, and voices from every side. Stay informed, stay curious, and thanks for listening.